Connected to desktop Wi-Fi JJ0 and problem.
Search Google to check. Go free. Your friends will not official. You call them. Okay, that's it.
Attitude problem. Disconnected.
Gracias por mantenernos a salvo, por conservar su chispa encendida a nuestro más de 1 millón de héroes.
I say thank you.
Think you know FanDuel? Well, what if we told you that we've got an ace up our sleeve? Introducing Fan.
Fucking cowards who ain't ready for me to see me, you know, beef dice stuff. Surrounded all by these fake dudes. Bitches bitter like some grapefruit. Where my enemies to say true. Walk on water like an Jesus. You can stand right next to Pop, and I still won't believe you. Your torso been see-through. We see you shaking in your knees too. Give a fuck if you in the trap, and give a fuck if you lyrical. And now I'm in the nigga stand up like a priest, nigga, it's a miracle.
Pick a side, pick a side. Ain't no juice given in this world, motherfucker, you gon' have to ride. Pick a fade, pick a fade. Neither one is a mistake. Understand that it's consequences covering each one you can't escape.
Ooh, what up?
I keep a case with that ammo with it. Ain't no time to brace. When I break, motherfucker, I'm coming right for your face. price for the pain. Venom inside of me coming at you with the lightning. You're already dead to me, bitch. I hit the switch. I'm coming up quick. Hope you're ready for this. Kamikaze rolling bodies. I'm the product of the fucking dirt. Let it burn. Keep the ashes stuck for mouth. They'll never learn. I got a problem. Never say something. I shut it down. If you turn, I hear the rounds. Another body hits the ground. Yeah, fuck around, I'ma show you what that wrist slit. Trim clips, fuck around, get your whack before you get bit. Cover the motive, and you better pray that the predator don't get you right. Nothing left to say, I'ma show I'm at that. Yeah, man, fuck that. SOS at 20 mil without rap, I'm bout that. So motherfuck the fame and all the cloud rap. You bust guess, yeah, that's really cute, but bitch, I doubt that. You're lying to yourself and all your fans are way around that. I feel the abyss, I don't talk about these why the walls are padded check. If I blow a tie, the noose around my neck and I'm a mess. Set it fire to my life and my regression. I'm depressed, I'ma die for this shit, now I'ma die.
Rappers J. Kill and Josh A are facing backlash today after canceling their Houston show. They refused to abide by policies set by a musician who was set to perform outside the same venue. It's unclear whether their careers will recover.
Oh, I'm pretty good, bro. How you doing? You know what I'm saying? Chilling with the quarantine streams. Ain't much we can do, bro. Quarantine streams. Listening to some underground hip hop radio. These motherfuckers suck ass. I'm not feeling that. Really not. Let's see what this does. Straight to commercial. Let's see what she get on here. Training in the garden. That's what's up. I need to go ahead and get my garden started. Wow, this music fucking crappy as shit this morning. What the hell is these young guys making? I would never buy no shit like that.
are times when our need to connect really matters.
There are times when I just want to
Customers
skip the
and
fucking
employees
commercial.
know to keep
Like that. Just skip it. Let's get right to the beats. Try one more thing. You ever heard of the Egyptian god Ishtar? Ishtar. Ishtar, Easter. Ishtar. Same thing, man. Fertility rituals, you know what I'm saying? Fertility celebrations. New growth, new life, you know what I'm saying? The planet started getting warmer and shit, yo. The goddess Ishtar. What up, Skeeter? So when you think you're celebrating the resurrection of Christ or whatever this shit is on Easter Sunday, you're not. It's a pagan Egyptian festival, and then they throw fucking rabbits and all this shit up in there. Fucking Easter is weird as shit. Why does the Easter bunny carry around a basket of eggs? Rabbits don't lay fucking eggs. What the fuck is a rabbit doing with eggs? It's the subliminals of fertility. All that shit is symbols of fertility. What do they say? Oh, they fuck like rabbits. You know, they fucking like rabbits. Why? Because rabbits fuck a lot. And rabbits reproduce fast as shit, yo. Fertility. You know what I'm saying? Birth. New life. And what is another prime example of a life that we can see is an egg. You can see a chicken come out of an egg. We know eggs produce life, yo. Fertility. New growth. And they try to blend all that shit in together and then make it into like some Christian type holiday, and it's not. It's all a bunch of pagan shit.
the Game of Thrones, you win. Or you die.
got most of it blocked in already. So we'll pull out the smaller brushes and start adding more finer details to the hair. And basically, that's where we're at now. Is detailing the hair, and there may be a little bit more I want to do in the sleeves here on the forearms, but this piece is almost done. They're doing this hot. So, yeah, we're gonna be in here for a minute. If you guys want to continue to watch the studio session, we got it. If I can do this with one hand. Nope. Setting up, getting everything ready in the studio. Got some brushes set up, some medium. You know, there's not a lot of colors, so palette is ready to go. And if you guys want to continue to watch, I am live on YouTube. We are on air, so you guys can definitely tune into the YouTube channel to check out some art, and I'll probably be here for a couple hours, like I said, just working on this piece, adding some details to it, and chilling out with some quarantine streams, some art, some education, some beats and some corner freestyles. Y'all know how I do. I try to keep it simple. So, like I said, if you guys wanna chill in the studio for a little while while you eat your oatmeal and your cereal, your grits and your eggs and all that good stuff, definitely come to the YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is just my name, and it should be pretty easy to find. I'll catch you guys over there. Alright guys, just got served some breakfast. So, let's do a little YouTube search real quick. Let's see what we can find out real quick.
My dream is to help people understand how the universe operates so that each person.
When Yahweh, your Elohim, does cut off from before you the nations which you go to dispossess, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, guard yourself that you are not ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed from before you, and that you do not inquire about their gods, saying, how do these nations serve their gods? And let me do so too. Do not do so to Yahweh. For every abomination which Yahweh hates, they have done to their gods. All the word I am commanding you, guard to do it. Do not add to it, nor take away from it. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verses 29 through 32. This is what Yahweh commanded Israel when he brought them into their promised land. As they were taking over the land from the other nations, they were commanded not to worship Yahweh the same way the other nations worship their gods. Yahweh said, do not add to his words he commanded, nor take away from it. Over the centuries, this command and message has been lost and forgotten. And one thing many people do today is add to his commands. We do many things today in his...
So I just clicked on whatever link. What I typed is the history of Easter. So I just clicked one of the links. Never heard this before. Already it sounds like the guy who's narrating assumes the Bible narrative to be true to some extent. But everybody who mentions gods in the Bible always have to word it this way. And there's no real other way to word it. So when you listen to people say it, even if he is a religious believer, they still have to say it this way.
His words he commanded, nor take away from it. Over the centuries, this command and message, do not do so to Yahweh your Elohim. For every abomination which Yahweh hates, they have done to their gods. All the words I am commanding you, guard to do it. Do not add to it, nor take away from it. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verses 29 through 32. This is what Yahweh commanded Israel when he brought them into their promised land. As they were taking over the land from the other nations, they were commanded not to worship Yahweh the same way the other nations worship their gods.
They were commanded not to worship Yahweh the same way that other nations worship their gods. They were not to worship Yahweh the same way that other nations worship their gods. Even the God of the Abrahamic scriptures doesn't denounce the fact that other gods exist. He is not the only God, and he acknowledges the fact that he is not the only God, and that you shouldn't worship me the same way other nations worship their God. This motherfucker hardly ever says that there is no other gods. He says you should have no other God before me. And it's weird, like, how the supposed words of God are phrased out that way. And he, in this, especially in the Old Testament, he makes this statement several times, where he tells his chosen people, you know, don't obey other gods, don't follow other gods, don't worship me the way other people worship their gods. And it's like, but I thought you were the only God. But now you're not the only God, And that right there in itself just always confused me a lot. So once again, even if you hold that position, you still have to acknowledge that the Old Testament God acknowledges other gods that exist and that are worshiped the same way, that have worshipers the same way He requires to be worshipped.
Yahweh said, "Do not add to His words He commanded, nor take away from it." Over the centuries, this command and message has been lost and forgotten. And one thing many people do today is add to His commands. We do many things today in His name because in our minds it seems right, though He has never commanded us to do so. If you follow this channel, I've spoken about Christmas, Halloween, Valentine's Day, and many other traditions. All of these holy days have been given and taught to us, not by the commands of the Father, but by adopting traditions from the other nations. We have done exactly what Yahweh has commanded us not to do. We are following the example of the other nations and how they serve their God.
See, so he is a believer because we are doing exactly what Yahweh told us not to do. So he's a believer, and I don't know. I know the Jehovah's Witnesses hold this belief where you don't celebrate these pagan holidays because they do go into a little bit more of the historicity of a holy day. And they don't celebrate Christmas and Valentine's and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? And I get why, like, and it's weird that Christians do still celebrate holidays like Easter. Like, do you know the history of Easter? Like, do you know where it came from, how it started, or anything? Like, most people don't even know who painted the Last Supper. Like this holy image. Who painted that shit? And it's like shit like that like religious people don't even care to think about. They don't want to think about it at all. Riff-raff. This motherfucking cultural exploiting wannabe rapper. It's like, nah. He told Israel not to do that stuff. America ain't in the Bible. Facts. But we are the descendant of the 12 tribes, and we are the nation that is lost in the wilderness that was sold into enslavement of our brothers and have forgotten our truth. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. Man, you have to stretch it and interpret that shit so fucking hard, bro. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Nice. Congratulations. For you. Like,
and saying we should do so as well. Now, the majority does not do this knowingly, but unknowingly. And though their heart is in the right place, they are still being disobedient to the one they love and serve. Yahweh does not allow us to worship Him in any way that we please. And He especially does not want us serving Him in the way that the Gentile nations serve their pagan god. So it is wise for us all to examine the traditions and customs that we practice in our worship of our Savior, and make sure it's what He desires from us, and not customs and traditions that have been taken from pagan nations and then rebranded as Christian. Many people reject that message and believe they can do what they want because they feel that their heart is in the right place. And they say things like, God knows my heart. What many do not consider is that their heart is possibly telling Yahweh that His words are not as important as their own way of doing things. If we are a believer in Yahshua the Messiah, transliterated into Jesus Christ, then we all must have this huge understanding, and you will find it in Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. It says, Enter in through the narrow gate, because the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction, and there are many who enter in through it. Because the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed, which leads to life, and there are few who find it. So many of us have been trying to enter the kingdom of Elohim through a very wide gate that says we can do what we want and Elohim will accept it because he knows that we love him in our hearts. But what he told us in his word is that the gate to him is narrow and few will find it because many...
It's so hard to listen to people try to explain the scriptures. I mean, we understand what they're saying, but you can't take a lot of this stuff literally. And that's just like, you know, it's easier to get a camel through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven. And just like these verses here saying, you know, don't take the broad way where everybody goes. Take the narrow and more difficult way, and that's your course to salvation. But what he's trying to get at is if you stick more with the biblical, literal, because he's using words like Yahshua and Elohim, and those are more of the traditional words, not a lot of the newer translations. So he feels like if you really read the Bible for what it is, you'll get a better understanding without adding all this extra fluff. And I understand that. But then, the bottom line is, to prove the Bible is anyway. You know what I'm saying? I swear, yo. And that's the whole thing, like, there's so many ways to dispute and interpret the damn book. Because some people, like you say, are just Bible-loving Christians and still celebrate Christmas and Easter and Halloween. And then this guy is apparently a believer of one form of Christianity or the other. And he's going against. And he's using the same scriptures, saying that if you read it just like this, and it says this, you shouldn't take pagan traditions and add them into our religion, because that's not what Yahweh was saying. And it's like, I thought you was really going to talk about more of like the history of Easter. He's trying to like expound upon certain verses and more or less preach. You know what I'm saying? What I typed in was history of Easter. Click one. And this guy is just like always stretching. They gotta stretch it. I don't know, man. That in times like now, bruh, Crusades ain't nothing but the purge, bruh. I already been saying, yo, we on the verge of a purge. On the verge of a purge. I'm gonna skip a little bit further down in your timeline, bro. Let's see if you actually get to something interesting.
Incarnated Nimrod. His birthday is celebrated on December 25th, but that's discussed in the Christmas video. People have been looking for the promised Savior since the beginning of mankind, according to the prophecy of Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. They were persuaded by Semiramis to believe that Tammuz was the Savior. Now, Tammuz was killed by a wild boar. Semiramis, now widow.
Come on, bro. You stretching out 17 stories. I asked for one. I hate going to the History Channel sometimes too. History Channel is the first video that pops up. They're so biased and skewed, and the History Channel really only gives you a very superficial history, believe it or not. Like, I used to live by the History Channel, and I just like knowing the past. But then, like, once you start reading, motherfuckers don't like the like. I mean, and it's so weird, yo. Like, cause you can read shit online, but this is where certain aspects of 1984 come into play, where you had an organization that was editing the news day to day, and if an official said something, they can go back, edit it, take that out, insert something else, and reprint it, and nobody would ever know the fucking difference. They started to edit the dictionary words, and it's crazy, and like, so our digital format is definitely a major effective tool in educating ourselves. But at the same time, most shit online can be edited, deleted, altered, changed. You know what I'm saying? And that shit crazy. So, like, books are still the key, bro. If you can find old ass books on whatever subject you're looking for, always go to a book first, because them shits are a little bit harder to edit, especially if you can find a first or second edition print. Like, but like, once I started reading history, like, there's way more shit that History Channel don't ever fucking talk about. Nowadays, History Channel is just like TV shows and reality shows and ice truck fishers. I don't know, man. History Channel hardly give you no history no more. That shit is fucking retarded. William Tyndale. Nope. Oh, definitely. Yeah, history books are definitely lie to you, bro. Oh, definitely. So that's why you have to read a wide variety of authors on a wide variety of subjects in order to get an overall view where you can see where the facts actually interlock and overlap. You know, because there are just certain areas where numbers, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. You know what I'm saying? Some uh, analysts will come up with some fake ass statistics sometimes and fudge numbers in order to make the numbers say things that they want to say, and to pursue the conclusion of their fucking hypothesis or whatever. But still, like, if you can get some real numbers and real statistics and facts, like, you can't really beat that shit. You know what I'm saying? And goddamn, but you have to read a lot of different people. You can't just go to one source as a for historical references and think you know everything, because almost every author is biased to a certain extent, especially when it comes to specific subjects. Um, the first guy who changed the Torah. An English scholar who became a legend figure in the Protestant Reformation in the years leading up to his execution. He was well known for his incomplete translation of the Bible into English, influenced by the work of Desiderius Emrys, and of Martin Luther. So I've never heard of Emrys, but everybody knows who Luther is. So I've read a little bit about Luther. I probably have heard about this guy right here. Born in England, 1494. A number of Patriot English translations had been made from the 7th century onward, but the religious ferment caused by Wycliffe's Bible in the late 14th century led to the death penalty for anyone found in unlicensed possession of scriptures in English. Although translations were available in all other major European languages, Tyndale worked during a renaissance of scholarships which saw the publication of Reuchlin. See, that's some French shit. I can't even say that. Hebrew grammar from 1506. The Greek was available to the European scholarly community for the first time in centuries, as it welcomed Greek-speaking intellectuals and texts following the fall of Constantinople in 1453. Notably, Emrys compiled, edited, and published a Greek scriptures in 1516. Luther's German Bible appeared in 1522. Tyndale translation was the first English Bible to draw directly from Hebrew and Greek texts, for the first English translation to take advantage of the printing press. The first of the New English Bibles of the Reformation, and the first English translations to the Jehovah as God's name as preferred by English Protestant reformers. It was taken to be a direct challenge to the hegemony of both the Catholic Church and the laws of England, maintaining the Church's position. A copy of Tyndale's The Obstinance of the Christian Man, 1528, which argued that the king of a country should be the head of the country's church rather than the Pope, fell into the hands of the English King Henry VIII, providing a rationale to break the church in England from the Catholic Church in 1534. I'll read some more of him, but yeah, so apparently his story is the Bible had been translated into several different major languages, but for some reason the Catholic Church didn't want it translated into English, and they're saying that this guy could have took, you know, a Greek version or a German version and took those and translated it into English. But what he did, the newer translations of the Bible, he disregarded those. He went back to the original Hebrew text and translated the Hebrew text directly into English, and came up with, you know, some words that other people felt were discrepancies because, you know, it wasn't traditional for them to use words like Jehovah. Oh yeah, man, it's definitely a tool, and it's always political. Like if you look at the history of all religions, just like that, it's like that shit is political as fuck, yo. Oh, you can't translate it into English. English is a new language that came from the Saxons, which is a combination of all kind of shit, man. Nobody ain't even gonna be speaking English in 100 years, yo. You can't translate it into that shit, and he did it anyway. And just like when Martin Luther went against the fucking church, saying that, you know what I'm saying, a man can have a direct relationship with the Creator, and the Pope isn't a necessary figure. He came up with his 95 Theses or whatever, and nailed him to the fucking door. Tried to kill that motherfucker over that shit, yo. Gonna kill you, bitch. Easter, what your pastor doesn't want you to know. See, those are like so clickbaity. I just want something like a brief history of Easter. What is Easter and where did it come from? Alright, this guy just has this look about him, but I'm gonna click on your video, bro.
Chocolate bunnies, jelly beans, plastic grass. If you see all this at the store, it can only mean one thing: it's Easter time. But what is Easter and where did it come from? That's what I want to talk to you about in this video. The first thing to understand about Easter is that it's a Christian holiday that celebrates the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Christians remember Easter, they use Easter to remember the time when Jesus rose from the dead. The Bible says that the resurrection of Jesus Christ is the central event of Christianity. Without the crucifixion, the death, and resurrection of Jesus, there would be no Christianity. Take a look at 1 Corinthians 15. In passages like this. And if Christ has not been raised, then our preaching is in vain, and your faith is in vain. If Jesus didn't raise from the dead, then there's no point in being a Christian. So Christians remember Easter. They use Easter to remember that Jesus rose from the dead, to celebrate that as a church family, to worship God, and read Bible verses about it, and thank God that
Ishtar is where it originates from. Ishtar. I really hate to go to like some super pro-black scholar on this shit. I'm just trying to find like some random people instead of going to some shit that I've already heard before. But yo, MJ, one a day. Yeah, but Easter comes from Ishtar. It's a fertility celebration. Rabbits and eggs.
Jesus rose from the dead. But there's a lot of other stuff about Easter that is pretty surprising and kind of controversial. So let's get to some of that.
Really?
Easter is not in the Bible. Now, obviously the resurrection is in the Bible, but the word Easter is never found in the Bible, and the holiday that we know as Easter isn't found in the Bible either. Nowhere in the Bible does God say, "Thou shalt celebrate Easter." In fact, what happened was, as Christians reflected on the resurrection of Jesus, they were inspired to take a time to celebrate the crucifixion, the resurrection. Eventually, that celebration of the resurrection ended up going on Sunday, and you have Easter Sunday. But it's not commanded in the Bible, and the word Easter doesn't appear anywhere in the Bible. So where does the word Easter come from?
Let's see if
Well, this is a matter of huge debate. Some people think that the word Easter comes from an Anglo-Saxon goddess. Some people think that the word Easter comes from a Germanic goddess. Some people think that the word Easter is kind of a take on the German word for dawn or sunrise. And so the answer is we're not really sure. But somehow the word Easter was borrowed and applied and used to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus. Now, let's talk about the date of Easter. You might have noticed that the date of Easter changes. You know, Christmas is always on December 25th. The 4th of July is always on, that's right, the 4th of July. My wedding anniversary is on June 7th, I think. But Easter changes. Why is that? Well, Easter is tied to the Jewish Passover. You know, early Christians, they thought that we should celebrate Easter around the time of the Passover because it was the Passover meal that Jesus celebrated with his disciples right before his arrest, his crucifixion, and his resurrection. And so Easter is going to be always around Passover, but sometimes it's in late March, sometimes it's in later April, and so it bounces around, having to do with full moons and all kinds of confusing stuff. Now, as we said, where the word Easter comes from, that's a huge controversy. Well, the date of Easter is even like a bigger controversy. I studied this a lot in getting ready for this video, and I was going to explain it to you, but it's just too much. But just understand that at a certain point, Christians decided that they were going to take one Sunday a year to celebrate the resurrection. It was going to be in the springtime, kind of tied to Passover. And
I hate people say it's too much to understand. Bitch, no it ain't. Did you understand it? You understood whatever information you acquired, right? How the fuck is too hard for somebody else to understand? I studied a lot preparing for this, but it was too much to understand. But all you need to know is you're cherry picking. Happy New Year. Wow, dude. Lou.
What are the origins of Easter? Do we find it within our Father's Word, or do we find it within pagan worship? Let's find out. Hey, this is Pastor Randy. Well, today I want to talk about the origins of Easter. I want to talk about whether or not we find this day within Scripture or whether we find this...
You already know it's not in there, bro. See, this is what you gonna make me do. Like, I hate to go to people like this.
The classroom is now open. Brother Ashra Kwesi. Hotep, Brother Kwesi. Welcome back to WOL Radio.
What's up, Brother Carl? Honor to be on your show as always, and here we are, right into another season.
The Easter season, help us out. How did this all start? Well, let me ask you the first question. Why isn't Easter on the same day as other holidays?
Well, that's a great question, Carl. You know, we know the last time, we annually do the Easter and the birth of the Black Christ and the whole spiritual representation that our ancestors created thousands of years ago, literally based off of the sun. And we know that the sun is born out of the death of winter at December the 25th, and our ancestors saw that to keep that story alive through the great heroes and sheroes, we see that personified with Haru, who was born from his mother, Aset, that symbolizes Virgo. A lot of this is astrotheology, but unfortunately, our people are caught up in the stories that were taken from our ancestors.
Correct. But using the Gregorian calendar, they put motherfucking the first day of the year in the middle of goddamn winter. What? January the 1st. It's a new year. No, bitch. It's fucking the dead of the last year. The new year doesn't begin until the fucking vegetation grow back, until the animals come out. That's the new year. Is springtime. But going on this calendar, the new year is in the fucking dead of winter. In the darkest hours, the shortest days. That's renewal. This shit looks renewed to you right now. Dark and cold, snowy. It's a new year, guys. Like, no, not yet. But and my man get right to the point. Why it's not on the same day? It's based on sun cycles, bro.
Ancestors, and now that was the winter solstice, now we're at the spring solstice. And the spring solstice is literally the resurrection, especially the bad winters that you have back east and the cold and snow and everything is barren. And now we see that the flowers are coming back, the days are longer, and the sun is up.
Man, we listened to like 3 other people for 10, 15 minutes apiece, and they couldn't say this much. Like, that's why I hate coming back to my sources. But my sources just, they give you the information, concise, quick. This dude, the other dude told us he did a lot of research. First of all, he said they don't know where the word Easter come from. That's a lie, bro. It may be old German or Germanic, like, I mean, okay. And then you say, oh, I did a lot of studying before I made this video on why Easter isn't on the same day, but it's too much to understand. But so all you need to know is whatever, bro.
Longer, and the flowers are blooming, the leaves are coming back to its trees. That is the resurrection of nature itself that our ancestors referred to as Mut Neche. And these are spiritual stories that our ancestors told around this phenomena of the birth and the resurrection of the sun. And of course, as I said, great heroes and sheroes played a personification with that. We are a very deeply spiritual people, and we created many spiritual stories that became part of the Western Judeo-Christian and Islamic culture. We can even add Buddhism, Krishna, and so on. But unfortunately, we get caught up in the mix, and we don't look at what's right in plain face and plain sight, and that is the spring solstice and resurrection. Now, in reference to your story, why isn't it the same day as December the 25th, or related to your question? Why is it not the same time? Well, when we come into the spring solstice, and we now have moved from going into what is now called the spring equinox, and the reason why Easter is never on the same date, because it's based off of a moon holiday. Now, for those of us who know the ancient stories of Kemet, or the Netters, or the divine spiritual ones that we see or refer to as angels today, that was referred to as Tahuti. Tahuti represented the moon. Now, March 23rd will be the first full moon. How do we know when Easter is going to be? We know December the 25th is always December the 25th, because that's the lowest point where the sun starts to resurrect out of the winter solstice. Now we're in the spring solstice. How we can tell, for those who have the calendars, you can still buy the calendars and has the various phases of the moon. You have the full moon, you have the new moon. March 23rd will be the full moon. Now, how you can tell it's the first full moon after the spring solstice. The first Sunday that will follow will always be Easter. That's how you can tell. Go outside at night, you can see the moon is starting to go through its phases. It's going to get larger and larger. By March 23rd, it will be a full moon. By Easter Sunday, it will be a complete full moon. That's how we can tell it'll be Easter. Follow the spring solstice, the first new moon after the spring solstice.
But once again, the other guy said, "Look, man, it's so complicated. I can't explain it to you." I hate people who do that, man. Why you even put up the damn video if you ain't gonna give out the knowledge you required? It's too. Why isn't Easter on the same day? Because you gotta wait to the fucking first full moon, bitch. Why didn't you? How hard? How hard is that to explain to somebody? And even with this guy right here, like, I don't even agree with everything he says, because he just traces it all the way back to the early dynastic Egyptian spiritual belief systems. And I don't know. I just don't. It's still supernatural to an extent, like even the stuff that he believes in. But he understands that these stories and these myths and these gods and goddesses, these heroes and sheroes, were created to explain the nature of reality around us. And these are some of the oldest stories in the Mediterranean, Sumerian stories. And some people even think that the Ethiopian stories moved north to Egypt, which moved to the Middle East. And the history gets foggy the further back you go. So, but we know these stories have ancient origins, and to attribute so much credibility to the Bible scriptures and their stories and their characters and the descriptions of events and the creation myths. And it's like, y'all act like this the first time this shit been said, bro. Motherfuckers been saying this shit for thousands of years. This is an old ass story. Yeah, but Jesus Christ is the one. Man, get the fuck out of here. We've heard this story before, bro. Like, the people just swear up and down that they have the right way in the Bible. And the Bible takes from every old fucking mythology there is.
That first Sunday will always be Easter. That's why sometimes Easter is in April, sometimes it's in March, various days, all corresponding to the resurrection. That resurrection is the spring solstice and the resurrection of Matnechith, that's the Kemetic word that we now call Mother Nature. And many stories are formulated around the spring solstice, just like when we were on the radio show, Carl, in December, we dealt with the Saturnalia and Santa Claus and all those stories that were also around the sun during the winter solstice. Now, what holiday do we have coming up? And that is, as we all know, that is the birth of Jesus and also Easter. Now, the question that when we look at the symbolism of Easter, and we see that, of course, I know when you were a child, Carl, and I was a child, we always look forward to those Easter baskets. We look forward to the Easter basket because it had chocolate in it, it had eggs in it, it had a chocolate rabbit in it, and we would go on an Easter egg hunt to look for these eggs. Generally, the eggs are colored various colors and so forth. So,
bro, nobody won't ever explain that either. And his name will be what? Emmanuel. Okay. But the Savior is Jesus the Christ, the Anointed One. Wait, but I thought you said his name was Emmanuel. Well, see, what happened was, the name change came about when, Barry Soetoro, changed his name to Barack Obama. See, because the Lord had ordained the name, the Anointed One, which is, Christos, or the Christ. So we refer to him as Jesus the Christ. Yeah, but what about it said his name was to be? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Just make it up as you go along, man. Make that shit up as you go along. Now, under the new covenant with the holy blood and, yeah, but what about the name? The name. Him and Harmon, you ask 4 different preachers, all of them gonna give you a different answer for that shit too.
A very fun time. And so, of course, as children, we didn't ask any questions about the Easter egg or the chocolate bunny or none of those things. But now that we're adults, I think it's an intelligent question to start to ask, especially if our children start to ask us, why is there a bunny in the basket with eggs when a rabbit doesn't lay eggs? Okay, what is the connection? What does this all mean? Well, we have to go back to the Greeks. And we go back to the Greeks, how did they celebrate this time period known as the spring solstice? How did they think that new life came back to the earth? They saw it through fornication. And their idea was to get a Greek female. She would denude herself, take off all her clothes, and she would paint herself. And she would run and hide. The Greek males, they would go and look for her, hunt for her. When they found her, they would have all this sex. They thought that's how nature came back. They would also have bunnies. Why a rabbit? Why would they have a rabbit? Okay, they would have a rabbit because the rabbit is the one animal, it's the most fertile animal. And a rabbit, as we know, will have many, many litter. So this is how the rabbit became associated with Easter. So when we look at coloring eggs, taking white eggs that represented the European white female, okay, and you paint that egg that symbolized when the white female, Greek female, when she painted herself. And then when you would hide that egg, that symbolized when the Greek males had to go on an Easter egg hunt, because they saw that as through how nature came back and resurrected, and they would have all this sex and fornication. So actually, it was a sex holiday. This is what we see. Now, the rabbit played a major role, because when we look at a rabbit, and we see, again, the rabbit is chocolate. Now, it's known now that chocolate, when we see that when a lot of people do not get enough sex, they eat a lot of chocolate. So the rabbit is equally associated with sex through the chocolate rabbit and the eggs in the basket, symbolizing the Greek female. And one of the images of the Greek images of resurrection is Pam with a large erect penis. Okay, so here we see that is a corruption still of ancient Kemet that represented the Setsu, or what is referred to as the Osirian resurrection. The Greeks never understood the real meaning of the resurrection. Our ancestors used symbolism, okay, not looking at it literally, but using symbolism of resurrection. So they had no problem showing the erect penis. So when you see the papyrus and you see the sun right above the penis, we see that what happens to males right before sunrise, they have an erection. So they were expressing a spiritual idea of the resurrection, but when the Greeks got it, they didn't understand it. They took it literally. Okay, they took the physical or the phallics as a literal resurrection that became, in the Greek culture, phallic worship. But it was not phallic worship in Kemet, it was just symbolism. It's the same phallics or penis that we see, and I know this is hard for a lot of people to understand, but you've got to go back and turn back the pages of time, Brother Carl. So when we look
right. Hold that thought right there, Brother Quasi. We've got to take a quick break, and I'll let you finish on this fascinating information about Easter. And as you mentioned, it may be tough for some people to swallow, this being Holy Week, Friday being Good Friday. And
he said, now this may be hard for some people to understand, but if you turn back the pages of time, and then the man cut him off, he's not telling you he's not going to explain it to you, say it's going to be hard to understand, but if you listen and pay attention, you'll get it. Yeah, that painted egg. Why do you paint eggs and hide them? People don't ask questions like that, yo. And then like the little smart kids who do just like ponder and wonder about shit like that, when they do ask the question, like a simple ass question, why do we paint eggs and hide them? How many fucking adults can really answer that shit to the fullest? Motherfuckers don't even know. We do it cause it's Easter. That's what the Easter egg hunt is, and that's what we do. Yeah, but why? It's a part of our tradition. What the fuck this got to do with God? Christ, resurrection, what? The Easter bunny, chocolate rabbits, painted eggs that are hidden and sought after, that may or may not have a prize in them. What does this all mean? And that's, I swear, yo, questions like this have always plagued my whole life, yo. Like, I was that kid who just asked the fucking obvious question. What the fuck does this mean? What is this? Why do you do this? Why are we doing this? Why do we have to go to church? So fucking boring. Really don't want to be at church right now. Why I gotta read the Bible? Why I gotta say the pledge? Yo, I swear, yo, and it may be, it's sometimes even hard for me to understand this shit, yo. Like, yo, Mo, what up? Oh, you already know, Quasi. You already know. But like even as a kid, yo, I don't know, man. I just always had like this fucking, and I try to reflect on my early mentality. I don't know where this shit came from, but I've always had like this super rebellious type personality for some reason. This like almost total disdain for authority. And honest to goodness, yo, I don't know why I did it, but it was either third or fourth grade. Like, I doubt if they do that shit nowadays. Still make kids say the pledge, but when I was in elementary, like you had to stand up every morning, and after the announcements, after the principal gave the announcements over the intercom, he would say the pledge, and everybody in the school would stand and say the pledge with the principal, and then we get our school day started. Yo, that shit used to irk the fuck out of me. And then one day, I just did not stand for that shit, yo. I just sat there. The whole class stood up just like normal. Everybody stood up, and I just continued to sit. And my teacher was like, stand for the pledge, Travis. I was like, I don't want to. And even then, like, at that young age, the expression on her face, yo, that shit was fucking priceless. It said two things, like she was shocked that I don't know. It was more actually I think she was shocked for me having this completely original idea, like, or someone had implanted this idea in me. And that was the thing, like, where the fuck did he get this shit from? But I was like, she's like, you're gonna stand for the pledge. I'm like, no, I don't want to. And after that, I never stood for the Pledge of Allegiance again, yo. Don't know why I did that shit. I didn't have like some militant I was brought up in a super Christian family, yo. And I don't know, for some reason, like, I never agreed with church. I just never agreed with fucking school. I dropped out of high school, yo. High school dropout. I just hate fucking authority. Motherfuckers telling me what to do, telling me how to fucking think, what to believe. Like, let me figure this shit out for my fucking self, yo. I've been that way my whole life. Exactly, yo. That early brainwashing. I pledge allegiance to the, and I haven't said that shit in fucking decades, and I still have it memorized. That's how hard they beat that shit into you, yo. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible. What? Under God with liberty and justice for all, or some dumbass shit. So I almost forgot it. Most of it, some of it. But still, the point is, like, I don't say that shit, and I still have that shit fucking memorized, mostly. It's weird as shit, yo. But the thing, too, is, even in the Pledge of Allegiance, it says this is and to the Republic. It doesn't say to the democratic society for which we stand. It's like, nah, this shit is a fucking republic. And they train kids to understand that shit at a young age for some weird ass reason and pledge to this fucking flag. Like, you gotta stand and face this flag and recite this shit. I was like, man, there's something wrong with this shit, bro. I seen that shit as a kid. Like, I don't like this. Why I gotta do this every morning? A couple years of that shit, like, I'm done. I'm done with this Pledge of Allegiance bullshit. Y'all can have it. No, thank you. I don't want to say it anymore. Makes me feel like a robot. Makes me feel like a robot. And ever since then, I've been like against the grain. Like, I don't mind going with the flow. I really don't. I honestly tried to go with the flow. But if that shit don't feel right, like, whoa, wait. Everybody doing this? Why? How come? And y'all want me to do it? No, thank you. I'll pass. Never tried hard drugs. Not a day in my life. Man, I got these ecstasy. I got these Xanny bars. I got some scissor. I got this Wiggles. Like, nope. I got this coat. Like, no, thank you. No. Everybody's doing it. Like, yeah, but I'm okay. I'm good. I don't want to do that. Go that way with it. You know? Just always go against the grain a little bit. Man, you don't gotta fit in with everybody, do everything everybody else doing. You ain't gotta think the same way everybody else think all the goddamn time, man. Think for your goddamn self. Do what the fuck you want to do sometimes. Maybe your life would be a little bit easier. Shit'll go a little bit better for you. If you don't give a fuck what other people think about you. Fuck you say, boy, I don't give a damn. Living my life. Nigga say he ain't never tried no Molly. Oh, bitch. I'll be a bitch there, motherfucking shit. Yeah, you ain't never popped no Molly? You ain't never partied before. Shit, well, hey, I guess I won't never feel what a real party supposed to be then. Cause I'm straight on that. I'm straight. What we was listening to? Man, I get on a tangent sometimes and start talking about dumb shit. Alright, back to history of Easter.
Resurrection Sunday or Easter Sunday being this Sunday. If you got any questions about Easter, how it all started, it's a man you need to put it to. He's Professor Baba Kwesi. And we'll take your calls for him next after the traffic and weather update on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Back to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio.
Thanks for staying with us, folks. And you can be polite. The classroom is now open. The master teacher is in session. 800-450-7876. That's how you raise your hand. Speak to Baba Kwesi. Tell us about Easter, how it all started, all these symbols, because they're not what they seem. So if some of you may rock your world, because, if you're like me, and as Brother Kwesi himself mentioned, we all grew up going into church, especially on Friday, Good Friday, sometimes for 3 hours, man. But now this is where it really all comes from. Brother Kwesi, I'm going to let you continue your story for us.
Right, yeah, so we were talking about the rabbit and the eggs, and we were referring to why the rabbit is in the egg. Just a quick overview. Again, this is out of Greek Orpheus, where the Greek males would take off all their, the Greek females would take off all their clothes and paint themselves and run and hide, and the Greek males would look for them, and they would have sex and fornication because they thought that's how the spring solstice came back, how nature came back and bloomed. And they used the rabbit because it's the most fertile of all the animals because of its litter. And again, when we look at a rabbit is born with his eyes wide open. Okay, when you see a rabbit born with his eyes wide open, that represents the full moon. As I said, March 23rd will be the full moon. And that's how we can tell when it's going to be Easter, because it's the first Sunday that falls the first full moon after the spring solstice. That's Easter, spring solstice, resurrection. And that's what it goes back to. So when I was talking about how the Greeks saw this around the whole resurrection, but some of it is a corruption of the spiritual stories that goes back into Kemet. And some who may not be familiar with Asar, and Asar is shown on the papyrus showing the erect phalanx, but symbolizing his spiritual resurrection, where the Greeks took it literally. They saw the phalanx or the penis, and it became phallic worship. So on their temples, okay, they would put the phalanx right on their temples. Well, that eventually became the steeple of the church. So when you look at the steeple of the church and you see right below the steeple, there's always a sun. Okay, so right before sunrise, okay, it's resurrection. That's when males get their erection. And then, of course, when we see those who are Christians, they go to church on Sunday and have sunrise service. So again, some of this is a corruption of the ancient spiritual stories of Kemet, but when we look at the symbolism around Easter and the bunny and so forth, all this stuff is coming out of Greek Orpheus. And we're getting our children ready with the Easter baskets, then they're going to go on the Easter egg hunt. And our children might ask us one day, why aren't the eggs in a basket when a rabbit doesn't lay any eggs? So maybe some who may be hearing this can actually explain this to them. This is the real history behind the whole story. But when we look at this time period, it was a very spiritual time for our ancestors, a very spiritual time. Our ancestors going back thousands of years, and we have temples and monuments for many, many years now that I've returned back where these stories are carved in stone, where eventually, prior to the Europeans and other invasions coming in, they had thousands and thousands of papyruses, okay, that were plundered by the Greeks who came in, that told about the ancient spiritual stories that they observed around the forces of nature. It's the forces of nature that our ancestors saw connecting the terrestrial, meaning the earthly plane, and as well as the celestial, okay, the cosmic plane, and connecting these spiritual stories, that this is how we get a lot of these stories that now are formulated in human form. Unfortunately, they're represented as European images, which is a corruption. And we have to go back to the early Greeks who came into Africa, Brother Carl, and see that it's in Alexandria, where when we look at Alexander, okay, the second, that our children are taught to call the great, nothing great about him. He's coming in as a plunderer. He got Aristotle to plunder the sacred libraries and temples of ancient Kemet. These are great spiritual centers. Okay, not only was it based off of early education, spiritual, theological centers, and this is how the Greeks were introduced, or how they got an idea of many of the things that I'm actually talking about when they housed this in the Alexandria Library. After the Alexander's death, the Ptolemies came in, like Ptolemy I, and they built this great library. We're all familiar with this Alexandria Library, but we don't ask any questions. Where did all those sacred scrolls, where did they come from? When we look at the European Bibles, where was the first Bibles written at? And I say this all the time because this is critical. It's critical because why would Europe's first Bibles, why are they written in Egypt? They're written in Egypt because that is where the sacred knowledge that goes back countless thousands of years, that predate Western Christianity, the Western world, Western civilization, by thousands of years. And they were there long enough with the Ptolemies, 300 years with them. And then when we see when the Romans came in, usurped the Ptolemies, and they came in for a period of time, about 400 years, and then we see the Byzantine Romans came in. So we're talking about almost 1,000 years of these Europeans who were able to study ancient spiritual stories that now become what is known as Western version of Christianity. Many people speak of Bibles. Many people speak of, most of the time, the Bible, as though there's only one Bible. But when we go back to Kemet, we go back to the land that is now called Egypt today, that our ancestors called it Kemet, that means black. We can see where these Bibles were written from the ancient spiritual and world's first sacred text. We are an ancient people. I think that we as a people suffer, Carl, because we refuse to unlock an ancient ancestral genetic memory bank that goes back thousands of years, that we continue to let ourselves stay within the circumference and worship within that circumference of European divinity, or European, as they consider it, divine representation, when in fact the Europeans came and copied this black divinity directly from African people. And so through the presentations that I do around the country, not only during the time of Christmas, but also during the spring solstice, as well as Black History Month and other lectures, as you had a speaker on before me, again, this is why we are honored to always come on to keep our story alive, not just in Black History Month, but 365 days out of the year. So we can have time to, and have the airways like you have, to tell our story. When we look at Europe's first Bible that I spoke of, like the Septuagint version of the Bible, and we look at the early African Latin Vulgate version of the Bible. Okay, this is the African Latin Vulgate version of the Bible. It's from the African Latin Vulgate version of the Bible. That's how the Europeans got the European, okay, Latin version of the Bible from the African Bible. So these are some of the things that we are not researching when we look at how did the New Testament come about. How did Pope Damasus, okay, got Eusebius Hieronymus, okay, to write the new translation of the Bible that became the St. Jerome's version of the Bible. When we look at this story around Easter, and we see, even though you got the bunny in the picture, you got a whole story around the resurrection, a resurrection of this European image of a Jesus. And this is the foundation of the Western version of Christianity, and I prefer to call it the Serapis Jesus, because if these ecumenical conferences that Europeans had, okay, from copying...
Ooh, I know what he's about to say. I haven't heard this interview right here, but he said Serapis or Serapis. I think he's gonna go there, but the Coptic of Jesus sold out to Tony One Lagui. And this motherfucker came up with Serapis, which was a combination of Apis and what's the other god? This motherfucker took two Egyptian gods because he liked their attributes and put them together and made one god named Serapis. And people say that Serapis became Serapis Christos over a period of time, and then Serapis Christos became Jesus the Christ, which is a completely fictional, made-up being. Yeah, I don't know if that's what he's about to say now, but I think that's the same name, if I'm not mistaken.
The ancient spiritual stories of African people, the Kemetic Africans of the Nile Valley, that enabled them to formulate these ecumenical conferences in the making a Western version of Christianity. And like the Conference of Nicene in 325 AD, this is where they came together and started to create the resurrection story and created this. Jesus is Greek, by the way. Now, when we understand the early stories of the Christ, and with the Christ...
Oh, wait a second. Back that up a second, Brother Quest. You're saying that Jesus is Greek? Because some people are saying that Jesus is black.
Anyone can go to any Bible.
So Jesus isn't black then?
The name Jesus.
Well, I'm talking about the name Jesus. The name Jesus is Greek. Now, were there revolutionaries back there who were fighting the Romans? Yes, there were. Okay. Now, when we're talking about this whole resurrection story, born of a virgin birth, okay, during the time of December, this is a corruption. This is stolen from ancient African spiritual knowledge. It's stolen from the story of Asar, Aset, and Haru. Here we see the world's first holy birth, where Aset gave a holy birth to her child Haru, born of Immaculate Conception. We go to the world's first holy city called Aptu, now called Abydos today. There you see the world carved in stone, the holy birth, where Aset is impregnated. And there you see the Madonna and Child at her temple of Aset, where Theodosius and Justinian tried to chisel her out, but you still see the print of the first holy birth. So that Black Madonna that they worship, that is a set that they worship in the Vatican and throughout Europe. Now, when you look at the Jesus character that they have given us, okay, which is a corruption of the ancient spiritual story. Now, were there people who were out fighting the Romans? Yes. Who were these early African Christians who the Romans exterminated? Who were the ones who were really trying to teach us about what the Christ is, what the Christ represents? And these were the Gnostics. And the Gnostics said the Christ had nothing to do with a man. It had nothing to do with a chronolized image. The Christ represents a spiritual development in all of us. That means that we can all develop and rise up our Ka, that's the real name of it, and the Meduneter, the Ka, meaning the spirit, who the Gnostics called the Charis, who the Romans called the Christ, to rise up our spirit, to fight against tyranny and oppression. This is what the Romans feared. So they created out of this one character, from a character that was started by the Ptolemies, and that is Serapis. Serapis is a character that was started by them because the Kemetic Africans refused to accept the Ptolemies on the throne when they usurped it from the indigenous African rulers, and that's the Kemetic Africans of the Nile Valley. So this Serapis was passed on into the Roman culture. And they said, well, we'll make a Christ for them because, again, the Romans didn't understand spirituality. It's back to what I said about the Greeks. They took the phallics literally, okay, the resurrection. The Romans equally took the physical body literally. So in Kemet, the wrapping up of the mummy, when you go to the West Bank and you see 63 tombs there, Carl, nothing like it on the planet Earth. Some of them 3 football fields like Seti I of the 19th dynasty.
Right. Hold that thought right there, Brother Quace. You got to take another quick break. I'll let you pick it up on the other side. Folks, you too can join the conversation in this classroom. Just raise your hand at 800-450-7876. All of your calls coming next on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Back to the Carl Nelson Show.
On Washington, D.C.'s 1450.
1450 WOL Radio.
And thanks for staying with us, and I guess the master teacher himself, Ashwa Quasi, discussing Easter and all these symbolism that we see in Easter. Before we go back to Brother Quasi, just remind you folks who saw The Passion on Fox on Sunday. It's a musical about Jesus. It was hosted by Tyler Perry, and it just tanked in the ratings. So maybe people are becoming more aware. Brother Quasi, I'm going to let you finish your story.
Yeah, as I was saying, Carl, our African ancestors, okay, of the Nile Valley, when we look at the whole resurrection story, they built great monuments and temples up and down the Nile, long before the Western world and Western religions was even in existence. Like, for instance, let's go to the West Bank. Let's go to the Valley of the Kings. And let's go here because this is where the Europeans got many ideas of the resurrection from. Here are 63 tombs there where our ancestors mummified the body for the spiritual resurrection. And that's during the 18th dynasty. And mind you that even goes back to an earlier period, to the Old Kingdom, where our ancestors, as I talked about on many occasions, in an area called Saqqara. I know we know about Rome, we know about the Parthenon and the Vatican and all these places, but let's go to places like Saqqara and to Teti's tomb, and you see the Meduneter of the resurrection and salvation in the earliest language called the Meduneter, long before Aramaic, long before Hebrew, Arabic, and all these other languages. And here we see the whole spiritual story of the earliest idea of resurrection and salvation. And during the 18th dynasty, they're no longer building pyramids. They're actually building down into the earth 3 football fields, like Seti I. I mean, nothing like it on the planet Earth. Now, why did they mummify the body? They mummified the body because our ancestors saw that it's like a caterpillar or like a cocoon. I think a cocoon is called a caress, okay? Here, this was called the caressing of the body for a spiritual metamorphosis, for the Ka, meaning the spirit, and the Ba, meaning the soul, to leave the body. But it's the Kat, or the physical body, that stayed on earth. But once that Ka, meaning the spirit, and the Ba, meaning the soul, united together, then it becomes a Sahu. What is a Sahu? A spiritual body. This is what the Romans didn't understand, and the Western version of Christianity still don't understand. They saw it as a spiritual resurrection that would take place. And that's why when you look at the picture of the European Serapis image of the Jesus, why are they wrapping him up like a mummy? If he's going to resurrect in a physical body, as we are told that when Mary Magdalene, she's the only one that saw the resurrection, okay? Supposedly that's the way the story is told, that he resurrects from the sarcophagus, okay? And he says that I'm not a ghost. You can feel me. You can see that I'm flesh and blood, all right? That's what we are told through the story as it's passed down. But if he's going to resurrect, why are you wrapping him up like a mummy? Because that idea is copied. When you parallel the images of the European Jesus with the mummies of Kemet, it's the same exact swathing that they use, because it was a symbolic for the caressing and the spiritual resurrection, because our ancestors saw it like nature again, like something like a caterpillar that crawls on the ground. And all of a sudden, it forms into a cocoon. And through this cocoon, a metamorphosis takes place, Carl. And that which once crawled on the ground now takes flight. That's how our ancestors saw that we would do through a spiritual resurrection, through the metamorphosis of the body, through the mummification. That's why the Western version of Christianity imagery that they have of the Serapis Jesus and the mummy was copied directly from ancient Kemet. So these ideas, when we go into Kemet and see the spiritual ideas, when you go to King Tutankhamun's tomb and you look at the opening of the mouth ceremony, the opening of the mouth ceremony is very important. And King Tutankhamun, even though he had the smallest tomb in the Valley of the King, it became famous because his tomb, as we know, was the only one intact. Okay, so that's where we were able to see all the gold and the riches and gold shrines and 3 gold shrines they had to go through, 3 gold sarcophagus, and they finally got to his cot, meaning his physical body is still there, okay, but it's the spiritual body that resurrected. All right? And they understood that, so that's why they mummified the body. But the scenes on the wall is called the opening of the mouth ceremony. What is this opening of the mouth ceremony? The opening of the mouth ceremony is like this. Here the Sim priest is enable King Tutankhamun to see again, to talk again, when he's raised from the dead. And there you see Asar, the Lord of the perfect black, on the tombs. Just what Europeans see, this black divinity on the tomb, King Tutankhamun is becoming one with his Ka, his spirit, who the Nazis called the Christ, the Kores, who the Romans didn't understand it and called the Christ. Interesting enough, this spiritual black divinity is called the Christ. And there we see that in the afterlife, they're not speaking of this life for him to see, but in the spiritual life for him to see, again, to talk again, to hear again, where he's raised from the dead. So the stories that we get with Jesus, where he made one, he raised them from the dead. He made one see again. He made one talk again. He made one see. This is literally taken from the spiritual stories that African people, who are the most spiritual people on the planet Earth, that's how the stories are there, from the tombs to give validation to it, from the opening of the mouth ceremony, where King Tutankhamun is now raised for him to live again in the afterlife. Let's go to the Temple of Heru. For many, many years, over 3 decades now, studying these reliefs and studying these tombs, and many of the group members gasp when I do the comparison, when I take the images of Raphael and Leonardo da Vinci and these Europeans who came and copied these stories, and I take their pictures and put it right next to the relief. And what's breathtaking about this fact is that here you see the Sahu that I talked about a minute ago, the spiritual body. Now here you have one leg down and one leg up, and they have 2 arms up. So he's called the dancing Ka. That means he is as we would interpret today, the dancing Christ. Why is he dancing? Because he's in the afterlife. He's in the spiritual realm now. He no longer has the swathing on. He no longer has the mummy on, because his physical body, called the Ka, stayed on earth. But it's his spiritual body, through the opening of the mouth ceremony, for one to see again, talk again, raised from the dead, that he's now a living Ka, okay, in the afterlife. So this is why he's got one leg down and 2 arms up, okay, because he's free. Oh, wait a minute. Here we see the same representation by Leonardo da Vinci and Raphael. Here we see the dancing Christ, the same exact picture that we see of this European Serapis Jesus, known as the dancing Christ, and the most famous picture of him, of Raphael, where he's got one leg down and his arms up, And I put that picture right next to the relief, and even Europeans who happen to be passing by, oh, look at that. Look what he's showing, because they don't even notice it, okay, because they're not studying the reliefs. They're going there, and they're taught that it's pagan, it's heathen, and all these negative things. So there's a blockage to even see. That's why the church put that negative pagan and heathen in there, so the people could not see that this is where the original story came from, and they can see where they were able to copy many of these ideas from. So they did not want the people to see that. So Kemet, as well as other spiritual systems of Africa, got all these negative terms and all these negative connotations that justified their white supremacy Christianity and the enslaving of African people because we didn't have anything worthwhile. It's only until we go back here, Brother Carl, and see where these ideas were taken from, and that's why the Gnostics were a threat to the Romans. They were a threat because the Gnostics knew that the Romans were stealing all of this and corrupting it and turning it into many of the European stories that we know in the Western world today. Even the idea that when we look at Jesus cut on the side, where he's cut on the side, oh, Carl, you know when they unwrapped the mummies, and the first thing they saw when they unwrapped many of the mummies in Kemet, that all of them had a scar on the side? The scar is on the side because that's where the organs were taken out from. So here we see the Roman. I mean, this is why Kemet cannot. The secret knowledge and the secret spiritual stories of Kemet has been a fear, okay, in the Western Church. That's why during the time of the Dark Ages, as they called it, anyone talking this knowledge, as I'm talking now, the Inquisitioners during the Inquisition period would burn them at the stake because they feared that the people could see that the Western world came and copied many of these spiritual ideas directly from Kemet. And when you have people and some of their own, like the Catholic Jesuit priests like Ignatius Keshner, who they started talking when they started studying Kemet and started to saying that the Catholic Church stole many spiritual ideas and wisdom and the salvation and understanding directly from ancient Egypt. And people like Giordano Bruno, who eagerly said that Kemet was Egypt. Ancient Egypt was the most spiritual place on the planet Earth. It's the foundation of our ideas of salvation and resurrection and many ideas that the Western Church got from there. That's where they took and set up and called in the Inquisitioners and burned him right there in St. Peter's Square. And there's a great big old statue of Giordano Bruno to this day holding a book. He's holding a book because that book represents the sacred knowledge of ancient Kemet, the sacred knowledge that they refer to as the Hermetic text. It's through the Hermetic knowledge of ancient Kemet that the Western world awakened, their sciences awakened, their religion awakened through that knowledge. So that big statue of him is there holding this book because of the wisdom that he was trying to teach during the Dark Ages when they burned him at the stake, when he was saying that the Catholic Church, okay, stole this knowledge from ancient Egypt. And this is the importance of us understanding when we start to come up into these holidays and start to, we've got to have the freedom to think, all right? Because if you don't have the freedom to think, then we still find ourselves in the worst form of enslavement, which is in spiritual enslavement, when the enemy becomes the deity in the spiritual subconscious of our mind. And what I mean by that, if your representation of your divinity and your divine representation looks like Europeans, this is where the enemy has become the deity because they took away our divinity.
All right, hold that thought right there, Doc, because we're going to take a quick break. We'll look at the traffic. And when you come back, I want you to talk about the 3 days, because I said that Christ was crucified and he rose on the third day. Where did that story come from? Folks, you too can join our conversation. 800-450-7876. This is the master teacher, Ashwa Kwesi. He's in the classroom. The call's next on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
All right, let's pause it right there. I see I missed a few comments. What's up, guys? Sitting here working on the detailing. Trying to add some highlights. Just a little 1,000 lines, nothing big. It's 1,000 lines here and 1,000 brushstrokes there and another 1,000 brushstrokes over here. It's no biggie. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. Art and education. This is how we do it. Art and education. This is how we do it. Oh, my bad. Shout it out. 90s shit, bro. Yeah, with that 90s shit. Let's see. Exodus 12:24 says, never forget what we had. Yeah, my man made that comment and then delete that shit. Like, we still can't see it on the screen, bro. Yeah, that's what we listening to. But that's that real nervous response you put up in there. What's dude's name again? Cause I can't see it on my jaw here. B. Scott 87. Africa fell down a long time ago. Get over it. You had your turn at someone else's now. The slaves overrun the African kings. Old news. That's such a nervous comment because obviously it's coming from a European, bro. And subconsciously for several decades, at least 50 years or so, maybe closer to 75 years, subconsciously, but more consciously these days, like literally like it is a unspoken conscious problem for Europeans that the power is waning. We kind of know who runs shit right now. It's true. Have to face facts. But we also know the power is slipping. The stage is shifting. Shit is changing. Slowly but surely. And that is such a fear. And it is a real fear. And that's why dudes come in here and say shit like that. Because we know history isn't linear for sometimes. It goes around, comes around, buddy. And people who say shit like that have this other fear that what they did to be supreme will be reenacted upon themselves. Also another fear. That's one of the major reasons that a lot of black militant leaders are assassinated, ostracized, outcast, belittled, discredited, or whatever. Because they fear black empowerment, you know, because what if they do to us what we did to them and all this shit? So they try to erase history and reword it and restructure it and teach it to new generations so that the newer generations really don't understand the harsh brutalities of the past, and you gotta, you know, make sure all their ducks is in a row just in case that shit happens. And it is a real fear, and I get it. And so you come in my stream, and just because we're listening to someone talk about the historical facts of a European holiday, you feel like it's a direct attack on you, an assault against your character, which it isn't, because no one invited you in here. No one sent you a request to come in here or anything. You came here on your own accord and apparently disagreed with the information that was being presented in our lecture. So you felt you had to lash out with some rude, illogical comment. But we understand your fear, and it's a real thing that you should have. Fear is healthy. It helps you stay alive. Lashing out at strangers due to the fact that you have succumbed to this fear doesn't make your fear go away or any less real. So we just need to work through this thing in a more positive, productive manner with less racially toned comments and jokes. I mean, it's all good. That's why one of my favorite books is The Destruction of African Civilization. Because we were the first people to create anything. And the simple fact that we lost hold over that power, it does seem a bit unsettling. But at the same time, you have to think about the difference of psychological dispositions in groups of people due to their geographical, genetical, spiritual orientations. Motherfuckers just act different, you know, and so shit is changing now. Shit is really changing. Cause motherfuckers don't like it no more. Motherfuckers tired of that shit. Motherfuckers gonna put their foot down and complain. And then what the ruling elite gonna do? Well, we'll kill all you motherfuckers, population control, and all this other shit. See, because that's how they think. That's their answer for everything. Kill them. Kill them all. Every last one of them. Do whatever it takes to maintain power. It's sad. It's a sad existence. It has to be a sad existence to think that way all the time. Couldn't even imagine, you know, just wanting to dominate everyone else's life so drastically. That's what gravity does. It definitely will make you fall. You will fall due to gravity. But punishment for following others. Man. I wouldn't say punishment more so than the consequences. Those are our consequences for following other motherfuckers. But man, it is what it is. You just educate yourself. Hey. There's a cartoon with this name, Fall Gravity. Is it an anime? Like Japanese animation? I love that shit. I love me some Japanese anime. But if it's like some just regular American shit, probably won't like that shit. I stopped liking much of American cartoons after I started watching anime. I watched that anime, I was like, fuck Bugs Bunny and those guys, man. Goddamn, that shit. Yeah. What I think about 5G? I keep getting this question so much, y'all. Event 201. I've had that as my background picture for a minute. Nobody's really paid attention to that. I don't know why. But everybody should definitely look up Event 201. I'm gonna have to go I post a lot of shit on Facebook. I'm gonna have to go back so far. Go back some more. Oh. Alright, this right here says, my post from over a year ago. No likes, no comments, but now everyone's talking about how bad 5G is, LOL. I know I be posting some weird shit that sounds crazy, but y'all should check it out anyway. And so this is a post I made, once again, from over a year ago. Global 5G Wi-Fi will blanket the earth in a mosaic of cells. What you need to know about the side effects of 5G. I've been on 5G for so long, and this actually, I was looking into that shit like for a few months before. Like, there are some things that I just want to like know more about before I just post that shit. I try to, cause motherfuckers are, and especially me, because my page is mostly informative, but motherfuckers will come at me so hard, like, if they find something that's not credible, or, like, I posted some story one time, and I didn't fact check it, and the story wasn't real, then, like, motherfuckers came at my neck hard as shit. How the hell are you posting this crazy ass stuff? I'm like, alright, whatever, guys. And then, I don't know, like, I was looking at that 5G shit for a minute before I started posting shit about it. And then once I started posting shit about it, like, nobody cared. I'm like, yo, you're talking about this weird ass bandwidth is gonna, like, fry our brains and shit. And this is like the same type of systems they use for military weapons and like sound frequencies and all these other kind of like weird ass contraptions they're coming out with. They're gonna use this, and the waves are so short that it can't penetrate even rain. It can't go through walls or anything. So essentially you're gonna have to have like one of these fucking receivers like in your building, in your home somewhere, or on every other street corner, and like just to get a nice tight reception. But it's apparently to connect the Internet of Things, where your smart TV communicate with your smart refrigerator, which communicates with your smartphone, which communicates with your smart home and your security system, and it communicates with your smart car. And the 5G network will enable autonomous driverless vehicles to be more effective because we have a better bandwidth of processing the data and communicating with the robot cars now. And so we need 5G for the Internet of Things so that everything is connected. So when you wake up in the morning, your coffee maker knows you're up, so your coffee maker turns on, and your refrigerator screen comes on, and it lets you know that your milk is going to go bad in 2 days, and you have one bagel left, so you might want to order some food from the grocer and have it delivered because you can't go out anywhere. But what? Looney Tune, Dog Patrol. But yeah, 5G is some weird ass shit, and they're saying that it needs to be as powerful as it is in order to connect as many devices as possible. But at the same time, will this thing have detrimental side effects to human health? We don't know. We don't know yet. So we're just gonna do it. And if people die or catch cancer, I mean, it's in the name of science. So it's all good because it's science stuff. In the name of weird science. Man, my family put me in a group Easter chat. Hey, when they do that, why y'all put me in group chats, man? And now I be getting these damn Easter texts all day. Happy Easter to you too. And I just can't type. Fuck all y'all motherfuckers, man. Take me out this shit. That'd be too real. And I done seen when being real goes wrong. I don't do that. Cause you can be real with some people. Some people you be too real with them. You know what I'm saying? That shit don't balance out. Some people you gotta feed them with a long ass spoon, a little scoop at a time, from way back over here. Like that. Some motherfucker, you can just be like, reality. That shit don't work with everybody, yo. just. And then, you know, they family, so they got a special place in your heart, and you care about them personally as a person, because you have love for them, you know, and you want what's in the best interest of their well-being, physically, mentally, financially, socially, everything. I just want everything good for my family, so I don't be wanting to like hit them with that dose. The real world, bitch. Bow. And then I be that. I'm already that dude. I know I'm that dude, and it's weird, like, cause I was like the favorite for a lot of things, like the favorite nephew, the favorite cousin, and shit like that. But now it's kind of like you were the favorite, but nigga, you weird as shit now. Like, I've always been weird as shit, yeah. I've always been this weird. It's just like, I'm more vocal with my shit now. Because I'm grown. I can say what the fuck I want to say. I've been wanting to tell y'all this shit since I've been 7 years old, you motherfuckers. Shit. Y'all niggas crazy. Simple and plain. What you gonna do? Tell me to shut up. You can't, bitch. You grown now. Say what the fuck I want to say. Goddamn. Fuck that. And it is the one good thing about being an adult. Especially if you got your own shit. Man, you say what the fuck you want to say. I give a damn. Yeah. What you gonna do? Can't put me on punishment now, motherfucker. Huh? Can't make me stay after school now, bitch. So what? I've been cutting off people, well, since the 2000s. I remember the first time a homie cut me off, having a religious discussion, and it was, you know, I was like, I don't believe, because I'm from the Bible Belt. I'm from the South. I'm from South Carolina, bro. Like, that church is life. And like, I had a friend, and I told him, like, I don't believe that shit, man. Yeah, that motherfucker straight up told me, like, it was like a week later, he was like, I don't think I can be your friend no more. I'm like, what happened? He was like, because I can't be friends with people who don't believe in the Bible. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, really? Oh, yeah. But it's all good. You know, so, hey. And I like being friends with people I don't agree with. My homegirl, she just... So, I'm having this debate right now because I posted something on Facebook that... It's Bill Maher, actually. And Bill Maher is saying that we name viruses... Most of the time we name viruses from where they come from or what they come from, and MERS is a great example, Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome or something like that. And when we say Middle East, we know what we mean. We know what we mean when we say Middle Eastern. You know, that means like Arabic, desert, Iraq, Iran type motherfuckers. That's the Middle East. We understand that. So saying that, you know, it was a virus that came from the Middle East doesn't make this shit racist. It's even called MERS. So when Trump said, oh, when the girl tried to call Trump out, like, why do you keep calling it the Chinese virus? He was like, because it came from China, man. Like, so what? It's a Chinese virus. What the fuck the big deal is? Because it came from China. I like how he said it. It came from China. And I agree. And then I think Bill Maher said the same thing, so I posted it. And I agree, like, the West Nile virus came came from the West Nile. The Mexican swine flu. I mean, you called it the Mexican swine flu. But you can't say the Chinese virus. That's weird as shit. And now, like, I got two homies and they're like, I don't agree with that, Travis. But they my homies though, and that's cool. And I like them because we don't agree on everything, and we get into this shit a lot, yo, like a lot. And then as soon as they post something, I'll be like, well, actually. So it's like, I don't know. She just made a comment, a long comment about how it's not right to say Chinese virus, and it's like, okay, well, we do call it COVID-19 or whatever you want to call it. We know where it came from, or supposedly came from. So it came during the Passover in Egypt. Ooh. So calling it what it is not a really big thing. I play video games all the time, but nobody wants to play video games with me. Nobody wants to watch me play video games, and I get discouraged. And so, like, normally I don't stream my video games. Sometimes I try to, like, but nobody watches that shit, yo. I'll stream some video games for like I'll stream video games for like 2 hours and get 2 views. And those 2 views, motherfuckers will be in there for like 5 minutes. He'll be like, oh, what game is this? Alright, I'm out. And it's like, ooh, shit. The maze game. Or you gotta move the little light thingy. Yeah, I did a pair of custom sneakers for a homeboy, yo. And one of my other homies just made a comment on the picture like, yo, how much for a pair of shoes? I've been telling these dudes way back when I can customize sneakers, yo. Now y'all gonna try to jump on them? I'm telling you, man, get your quarantine gear up now. So, get that quarantine gear up. So when the quarantine over, you step out super fresh. Alright, so, hold on. Where's my... So what did Bill Maher actually... Yo, this right here with Trump, though. What? How does man say his numbers?
1 billion gajillion. 1.87 million tests today, so that's 1,870,000 million tests. Think of that. 1 million.
How many tests?
1 billion gajillion.
This nigga said 1,000 million tests. I got GTA. Right now I'm playing the new Call of Duty Battle Royale because it's free. And I have Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And I just got Dirt Rally 2.0 because it's free. But I might actually buy the whole the new Call of Duty game. I actually like it a lot. I like the big maps. It feels more like the old Battlefield. I was a big Battlefield fan. Loved playing Battlefield. Battlefield kind of switched over a little bit with like the old guns going back to World War One and World War Two and all that stuff, man. And they took some of the vehicles out of the game, and it was like, nah, I don't know about this anymore. And so I didn't buy the last Battlefield. So I had Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield Hardline. I had the Star Wars Battlefront. I had Battlefield 1. And then after that, when I played like the demo for Battlefield 5, I was like, no, I'm good. But the new Call of Duty, like, not a big Call of Duty fan, just because, I don't know, the earlier Call of Duties, that shit was like so snappy, shooty, fast pacey, and you know, the maps are really small and all this shit. But now it seems like this battle royale sensation that's taking over every game, and every AAA headlining RPG first person shooter has to have some type of battle royale type mode in their games. And so the new trend is actually giving these things away for free, such as Apex Legends. Fortnite is the biggest trendsetter. You have PUBG, which is free, and a lot of other battle royale games that are free. So obviously Call of Duty had to fall in sync, so now they gave it where they're free battle royale, and the map is nice, the guns are nice, it's fun, and it's like I might actually have to buy the whole game, yo, and see how it is. Oh, you mean with the Huawei phones and shit? Man, we not selling no Huawei phones in the US so China can hack all our. See, look, if you had a Huawei phone, right, say for instance, right, and you log on to your Gmail account, which is Google, right, and see the Chinaman, he got a back door in the phone, so he gonna get into our Google servers through your emails, and then from they gonna take over everything. No, we can't have China Telecom nowhere in America. You don't trust China? Do I trust? I wouldn't mind having a Huawei phone. Man, those Joneses is hot. I be looking, yeah. When I seen like when they were first talking about the first foldable phones, like phones that fold up and that shit open up into a big ass screen, like some futuristic, like real sci-fi shit. Yeah, they been had that shit, yo. They been had that shit like years ago, and they were working on the screen that wouldn't fucking break, and just that's the main thing you need is a durable screen. But they, I don't know, I forgot how they did theirs. Theirs was, most people were trying to fold their phones in, but I think Huawei had one that kind of that flipped outwards or something. But their technology was the best, yo, and it's like their cameras are the best. Everything is just better. It's Chinese, man. It's China. They got that shit. But yeah, you can't get that shit over here. Yo, Mike, what up? Ingrid. You want to trust China? Yo, Trump said 1,000 million.
1.87 million tests today, so that's 1,870,000 million tests. Think of that. How many tests? 1 billion, gajillion, fifillion, million.
That's 175,000 million. What? 1,000 million? 1,000 million. 1,000 million though. That's what he said though. And then the chick who's recording it, she was like, How much did he say? How much? How much is 1,000 million?
0.87 million tests today, so that's 1,870,000 million tests. Think of that. 1 million. How many tests? 1 billion.
How many tests? That's so that's 178,000 million tests per day. Nigga, do you know numbers? Let's start with the ones place. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. It's not thousands, then millions, bro. This motherfucker said 1,000 millions. Oh my god, there's already 11 comments on here. And then there's another one. So, my friend said, I see the problem with calling it the Chinese virus because of the ignorant behavior that you can avoid just by calling it a neutral scientific name, just as easily as you could call the Chinese virus and get ignorance riled up. You can easily call it COVID-19 and call it a day. Yes, they did eventually call it COVID-19, but it took a while to come up with the name. Initially, they were calling it just, the Wuhan coronavirus. Wuhan is in China. And see, this is the stuff that takes me too long to type back. That's why I love you guys. I appreciate you guys for making the comments, because I can't type a conversation back and forth. Like, me and her go at it sometimes, and I can do a little bit, but then it's like, hello, listen, what you said is stupid for X, Y, and Z, but I don't really do it like that, but I will call you, because look, this is too much to text. But for one, yes, we can easily call it COVID-19, and yes, they did assign somewhat of a scientific name to it, because COVID-19 basically stands for coronavirus discovered in 2019. It's not like it's some, genus, species, fucking Latin name for this thing. It's just a novel coronavirus, COVID-19. Prior to that, they called it the Wuhan coronavirus, Wuhan, China, the Chinese virus. Okay, and you can still discuss facts of where it comes from. However, giving it a nickname like cat flu when it might have originated from a tiger somewhere would encourage mass torture or killing of house cats. Nicknames have people skipping the research, going by the name, and attacking is what I'm trying to say. I get that. And then I wish it could. This is somebody else. I wish it could make sense. I wish I could make sense of social science. Why would the public respond so differently to COVID-19 being named after its origin than how it responds to the many other diseases also named after their origins? It really makes no sense why the public chooses this particular situation to lash out in racial attacks. Maybe Asians seem less likely to fight back. I don't know, but it's happening, and it shouldn't. And that's why I think we shouldn't use the phrase. Whether we use it or don't, or whether we use it or not, doesn't affect us, but it may negatively affect the life of an innocent Asian American. Good point. Anyway, it may not have started in China. This is true, but from what we know that has been given to the public, says that it came from China. If we go on official stories, no, hypothesis or conspiracy theories or anything like that. The official story is this virus came from a wet market in Wuhan. That's it. And that's in China. Well, that's what some people say. And now there's reports of Chinese people kicking out all the black Africans because they say the Africans brought it there. Or the Russians brought it there. Or the Americans brought it there. And China has said that it came from several different countries other than China. So did 2 Africans from America go to Iran and then go over to China and then that's how it got there? Because that's what it sounds like. It did. You gotta watch what you say. Cause I have my my chat edited where you just can't come here and curse me out. Oh, you can't curse me out all willy nilly. And if I keep the app up, I can fucking kick people out the chat. But I didn't like purposely stop you from saying something. I'll be right back. China just might be the petri dish. But that's the thing, though. There are several other viral infections that came out of China for this exact same reason. This isn't something new, guys. Like, I don't know, man. I'm almost 40 years old, so I've heard all these things, like, over the years. And like a few of them have come from China previously. Like this isn't the first time, and that's why the Chinese government was the first one to stand up and fucking announce they had a fucking problem because that's where it came from. And if it did come from, you know, Iran or somewhere in the Middle East, probably went over there and, like you say, this petri dish of fucking germs and shit just mutated into some new strand of coronavirus, and then bam, global pandemic, global shutdown. Oh, and this speaker died.
Connected to desktop Wi-Fi JJ0.
Thanks for staying with us, folks. Gaining an education here on the Easter season and a lot on religion and where it all started in Kemet. Our guest is the master teacher himself, Brother Ashwa Kwesi. Again, let's go back to our guest, Brother Ashwa Kwesi. And Brother Kwesi, they tell me that Cynthia McKinney may be giving us a call later on this evening, so we'll keep a lookout for that. But I'll let you finish your answer to my question that
Man, I kind of regard Chinese food as fast food, kinda in a way, but there's certain shit I don't eat from Chinese places, like most of their, like I'll eat chicken wings because it's a bone in it, and you know what a fucking chicken wing looks like. It's a chicken wing. Now all that fucking General Toast chicken and all that diced meat and that sliced beef for like beef and broccoli and all that stuff, like no thank you. It don't even look like beef, bro. You know what I'm saying? That orange chicken, that shit don't even look like chicken, dude. Like, I'm good. I'm alright. Like, I don't care where I go. I don't eat like wing bites. Like those little you got chicken wings with, they say bone in. You got bone in chicken wings? No? I'm good then. I don't need them little chicken nugget type shit y'all be trying to feed motherfuckers. Them shits is gross. But yeah, like I don't eat everything from Chinese restaurants, bro. Like some rice. I know what rice is. I know what your noodles are. But all your meats and stuff, dude, like, I'll pass, homie. You know, I ain't trying to say nothing other than it doesn't taste or have the consistency of what I know to be chicken or beef. I cook chicken, I cook beef, and eating Chinese chicken and beef, it's just not the same. There's something different about it, and I don't like it. Personally, that's my preference. And so yeah, I've been that way way before this stuff broke out. That shit just be like, And then sometimes, if your rice and your noodles don't even taste right, man, throwing that shit out, yo. I'm not even gonna suffer through this. I'm telling you right now, I'm not gonna make it to the end. Let's discard this crap. I just wasted $13. That's why I like to cook, yo. No lie, yo. I don't mind cooking. I'm pretty good at it. And I just keep trying to add recipes to my catalog, you know. Try some new shit, some different shit, so I don't get bored cooking and eating the same thing all the time. Man, fuck restaurants, yo. Sometimes your shit ain't gonna taste good, you ain't gonna like that shit. Or you may like it, you just don't like the way they prepare that shit. You know what? Cook your own damn food. if you cook your food and it don't taste good, you know who you got to blame. And no, you can't get no free meal. And no, you can't talk to the manager. I get mad at myself if I fuck up a meal. Son of a bitch. Did you burn that shit, nigga? What the fuck? I got a heavy hand. Sometimes put too much seasoning, over season some shit. Like, God damn it, bro. What are you doing? Gots to be careful, man. This is food we talking about. You don't fuck with a man's money, his woman, or his food, bro. That's just the way shit is. The aardvark virus, damn, that's crazy. And this dude talking about nuking China, bro. You can't just do that. The virus is already out anyway, dude. Nuking China is gonna do what? You still got lockdowns in Italy, France, America, Canada. Everybody's locked down, man. You know what I'm saying? Yo, the New World Order is here, baby. All the times I kept telling motherfuckers about this shit happening, you know, motherfuckers being forced to stay in their house. Oh, that'll never happen in America. Police state? What the fuck is a police state? Welcome to the police state, bitches. That's why I ain't even worried, man. Seen this shit coming. I seen this shit coming, bro. Mile away. I'm talking about over a decade ago, son. Me and my homies been up on this shit. Like I say, we started researching that 9/11 shit. Seeing how illogical the official story of 9/11 was. And it's like, oh my God. The world is run by madmen. We are in a fucking world of trouble. I knew it ever since then. I've been like pseudo preparing for that shit. You know, I'm not a real big prepper. But I've been trying to like, you know, always stay prepared for like worst case scenarios. I don't think this is like, it's so hard to say with this one though. Once again, you know, just like how hard it was to decipher 9/11. Like what's real, what's not real. It's the same thing with this scenario. Like how much of this shit is real? How much of it is propaganda? How much of it is media news hype? How much of it is the elite using global scare tactics to maneuver themselves in a better situation to take over more resources and wealth? Like, what the fuck is going on? I've been telling people, yo, man, police on the streets, motherfuckers putting you in your house, taking motherfuckers to FEMA camps and all this shit, man, mass graves, all them FEMA coffins. Yo, welcome to the motherfucking new world. New World Order is goddamn here, boy. They really just haven't called it. This is a medical martial law. Martial law is in war times normally. We're not fighting a real enemy. This is what they had to do with Operation Freedom Iraq. In order to justify that war, we had to come up with an enemy. We did not have a standing army to fight. There was no nation we were fighting. We were fighting terrorists and terrorism. Anybody can be a terrorist, And terrorism is a very broad phrasing. So, in essence, we created an invisible enemy. And we needed all of our military might and resources to combat this invisible enemy of terrorism. Now, they're using this very same war-type language because we're fighting this epidemic. We're in a war against this thing, and we're going to win this war. And so, even though it's not a war against a standing army or a country, we will implement warlike tactics, and we will have military troops in the streets telling you what to do and what you cannot do. Because this is a war. It is a real war to fight COVID-19. Don't let them brainwash you with the war talk. That's how they gonna get you. Every time they make war analogies towards a virus, this is a medical health issue. This is not a war issue. So now they got medical martial law. Stay your ass in the house or else. California is set to release 3,200 inmates due to overcrowding. Inmates with non-violent petty crimes will be set free. In other news, anyone violating the curfew or distancing act will be arrested. Like, wait, aren't you letting people out of jail for petty crimes, but you're arresting people for what? Huh? I'm confused now. Guys aren't making any sense anymore. But you're letting people out, but you're locking people up for not social distancing. So I guess this isn't a petty crime, huh? This is some real legit fucking felony, third-degree misdemeanor type shit, huh? Medical martial law. Alright, who's really, really bored and like wants to watch me play video games? Hey. Hey. Wow. Well, alright. You say it's slowing up with your comments. Is my stream like stuttering? Because it may actually be something on my end, dude. The last 2 sessions I've had, I've got kicked out of the server, like in the middle of the stream. Like my last 2 streams, they didn't end because I ended them. They ended because I fucking lost connection to the goddamn servers. and it's like, you son of a bitch, like in the middle of a really good like conversation or some shit, and then it's just like, bloop, you're out of here. And then I noticed too, like, trying to play some online games, I've been getting a lot of lag, like doing online gameplay, and so I'm not sure if it's my internet or if it's something with Sony or what, bro. But I've been having issues too, so. I don't know what it is, but I've been highly annoyed lately, to say the least. It's like, I mean, for like 2 weeks, over 2 weeks, for almost a month, yo. Like, my chat wouldn't even fucking work properly for anyone. Like, it just kept cutting out, and no one could comment on the PlayStation side of the chat. Like, I could still see comments on the YouTube app, but here from the PlayStation screen, like, no comments would come through. Then all my homies would text like, yo, you know your chat's just froze up again. And that shit went on for weeks, bro. And like I say, recently I've just been getting booted out from the servers. Like, you're out of here, Trap House. Nice stream, bro. You're not done? You're done, right? You are done. You're done. No, you're done, like now. Like, bro, but I wasn't done. Well, you'll be alright. Come back next time. And then once so the first time it happened, I tried to come back twice, and it booted me 2 more times. I was like, fuck that. And so when it happened yesterday, and it booted me the first time, my initial response was like, oh, fuck that, I'm just take a break. You know, from the camp. I stayed in here painted a little bit longer, but I just didn't even try. I didn't even make an attempt to come back to the stream, just because the servers are acting silly. Thanks, PlayStation. You know we pay for the maintenance on these servers, right? Oh yeah, that's all it is. They got a better tune in on your reception now. A 1,000 little brush strokes, that shit don't bother me at all. No, I can do 1,000 brush strokes standing on my motherfucking head. Oh, okay. How long we been in here? 3 hours? Well, I only painted for an hour. I've been talking for 2 hours. You know? It's like that sometimes. It's like that most of the time. And if we were to chill in real life, I wouldn't have shit to say to you. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't got shit to say to you, bro. When the blunt gone, the conversation is done. My girl be like, you talk a lot on camera. And what you trying to say? The fuck that supposed to mean? I'm shy in person. What can I say? I can't help it. You know what I'm saying? I can't help it. I'm shy in person. I'm shy in person. I just wanna smoke my weed, listen to my music in peace. Nigga, just please let me be. The voice of an angel. Ooh, my dude, these highlights though. Pop, 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 popping. What? Y'all see these highlights? Pop, 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 popping. This is the part I've been waiting on. Have to add some more medium to this thing in a second. Get my paints a little more inky. Like when you do these little thin lines like this, you want that paint to be like ink, so it can flow real smooth, almost like you're writing with a pen. A felt tip fountain pen. Can you have a felt tip fountain pen or just a fountain? You can't have both. It can't be both. It has to be one or the other. You know, just 1,000 brushstrokes. That's all it takes. It's not like I'm asking a lot. Just 1,000. You know, and then after you give me that 1,000, you're done. You're done, man. You can just quit. It's all over. But you gonna get me that 1,000 brushstrokes though. I need that. I need that. I don't need it to be 1,000 million. Just a normal 1,000. All right. No, I don't need 1,000 million. The girl said, what did he just say? 749,000 million. That's a lot, you know? That is a lot. That's a big number, 1,000 million. Cambo, what it do? This fool. What up, what up? This motherfucker. You're our 100th contestant. You just won 1,000 million. I want to. It's not real money, son. Shit, I know it ain't no damn 1,000 million, no real shit. What the fuck is this dude just say? This nigga trying to tell me. Yo, man, guess what this man just tell me, man? He talking about, he'll give me 1,000 million. I said, fool, what the fuck is that? Trying to play me like I'm some jive turkey. I told that crook, man, you don't get your behind out of here. FBI in the stream? I don't know, I wouldn't doubt it, bro. Motherfucker watch everything. I'ma just let you know, I say this all the time. You may have or may not have heard this before, but if they do have FBI in the stream, watching different people, you are guilty by association. Welcome to the club, motherfucker. Thought this shit was just funny games? I hate to tell you. Cause if a motherfucker ever kick my door in trying to anal probe me and shoot me up with truth serum, oh, you best believe your ass is next. Yeah, so we see you're a big fan of that art and education. You subscribed to the YouTube channel, didn't you? So I guess you're into all this fascist Nazi shit too. Huh? You're fucking atheist, I bet. Look at you godless heathens. Should castrate you right now. Oh. Not a female body inspector. Or work for the FBI. Gonna have to see those boobs, man. No. Please cooperate. Just take your top off, man. This go a lot easier if you don't resist. Just doing my job. Ma'am, look, ma'am, I'm just doing my job, ma'am. I already told you before. I work for the FBI. Oh, they definitely coming for you, fuckers. They are coming for you. how much I love painting the hairs. Especially in this black and white shit, boy. Just make it pop out so pretty. I love how it does that. Can you buy some of my work? Sure. It's kind of expensive. I have prints though. If you want some prints, I got tons of prints. I can sell you some prints. Yeah, you can get a print for $40 plus shipping because I'm not gonna pay to ship it to you. So send me $40 and like another $10 to ship it to you, man. And I'll sign it. I'll write a love poem on the back of it. Whatever you want. Or if you got deep pockets, you can buy an original. I would advise you buying the original because it will benefit both of us optimally by you owning the original and by me receiving a large sum of cash. That's only if your pocket's deep. Like deep, because my originals ain't cheap. They're not cheap at all. Now this is a commission piece. My commissions are a little bit cheaper than my originals for the simple fact I did not come up with this idea. Somebody else took a picture. They said, hey, can you paint this picture? And I'm like, yeah. And then I start painting the picture. I think I can do that for a hell of a lot cheaper than my own personal work where I have to dream up a wonderful idea. And then I have to conceptualize an idea. And then I have to visualize an idea in a representative form that will allow the viewer to understand my idea. Then I have to find models and locations and photograph my idea. And then I have to paint it. So those, my personal ideas, my own imagination and my own creativity, those pieces are highly valuable to me, which makes them considerably more expensive than if I were doing a commission for someone else. Because my ideas are hot, son. And if you want that shit, especially the originals, you better have a deep pocket, nigga. That's all I got to say. Because I'd rather keep them. Well, can't you sell it to me for this? No, I can't. I'd rather keep it. Well, I give you this much for it. No, thank you. I'd rather keep it. I can sell you a print for $40. I'll sign it. But that original thing? Oh, no. The one I actually put the brush to? Oh, man, that shit worth so much damn money. Look here, boy. Yo, my painting's so expensive, I can't even afford them motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie to you. I can't afford my own damn art. What I call expensive? MJ know what I'm talking about. When you try to price your creativity. It is worth 6 digits, but I'm only looking for 4. And I get that a hella discount. Cause I done seen 5-digit paintings that ain't no better than mine. There ain't no other way to say this, man. I be trying to think of a non-biased intellectual way to say it where I don't sound like I'm hating on anybody else's art, cause I'm honestly not. I just know good shit when I see shit. And I got good art, man. My art is good. And when I go to major galleries and look at other art, and I'm like, well, my shit is that good. And I can look at some art and be honest with myself, with my own particular taste in art, and say, yo, my shit is better than that. But these motherfuckers want $32,000 for they painting. $1,000. My shit better than that shit, man. But when I ask for $8,000 for my shit, a motherfucker look like at me, like I got two heads on my shoulders. How much you want for that painting? Give me $8 grand. Well, that's a bit expensive. Bitch, I want $32,000 for this shit. I'm selling it to you for $8 grand as a discount because my name ain't out there yet. That's why I say this is the biggest investment for me in you, because you get in on the ground level, you know, and get the art wise cheap. And then when my shit does become worth $32,000, $37,000, you already got one. And you ain't got to tell nobody that you only paid $8 grand for it. Then you go to France, you put that shit up on the auction, and then that shit auction off for $1.2 million. And then that's your come up. And I ain't got but $8,000 out of shit. Now who winning? Man, motherfuckers don't know how to do math. It ain't nothing but math, man. Buy $8,000 painting, sell that shit for $1.4 million. That's a plus in your favor. If you can't add it up real quick, that's a plus in your favor. Like Jay-Z said, I bought a painting for $10 million. And no, what he say? He bought a painting for however many million, and so many years it's gonna be worth so many million. Man, I can't wait to get this shit to my children. So I wish I would have known about that earlier. I would have been buying these paintings. You should just go up in wealth all the time, man. Art. Culture. The last one of my paintings I sold that shit for $3 grand. And the dude was like, this is an important piece. This is going to be an important piece. He already see that shit. I see it too, because it is going to be an important piece for African American art. Yo, my shit gonna make history. It might take a while for motherfuckers to catch on to my shit. But when they do, they gonna be like, genius. I'm like, bitch, I've been telling you this shit forever, man. Y'all weren't paying attention. Was not paying attention. It's all good though. Cause if nobody else wasn't paying attention, my dude, I was. You know what I'm saying? I be peeping shit. And then niggas stay in the gym. Well, in the studio, actually. You know what I'm saying? I stay up in this thing. That's how I know something gonna happen. I don't give a damn what it is. Major league, minor league, you know what I'm saying? Local rec team, something. You know what I'm saying? I might have to coach pee-wee football. I don't, whatever, something going shape. You know, whatever you gonna do, man, you gotta take it as it come. You know what I'm saying? You might not be in the league, but you can be in the lead. Damn, that's a good one. I gotta write that down. You might not be in the league, but you can still be in the lead. Yo, Super Lover. All you gotta do is hit me up, bro. Go through my catalog. Like I say, my art is very popular, but my original pieces don't sell very often, so I have a whole house full of art that needs a good home. I sell way more commissions than my own pieces. Like I said, I can do a commission like this for anywhere from, $400 to $1,000. Can get you a nice commission. This is in a little bit higher range for the simple fact it's a large scale canvas and it has gold leaf on it, but the fact that it's in black and white actually balances it out a little bit because I don't have to use as many colors. And I have to take all of that into consideration when I'm pricing my art. So I think I gave my client a really fair price on this for the simple fact that she accepted it and she agreed to it. So I always try to be as fair as I can when it comes to commission work, and I'm lucky to sell a lot of art from commissions. People come to me and say, hey dude, I want you to paint this for me. And it's like, that's awesome, I got you. But then people really enjoy my own personal paintings and like, yo, Trap, that shit is fucking crazy how you came up with that idea. How much is it? Like $7,000. It's like, let me get that print. And for a while I was totally against prints and I didn't like making prints, but I keep a couple of them on hand right now just so people who really do want to own a piece of my art can afford to have a piece of it without breaking their fucking bank or taking out a goddamn loan or some shit just to buy a decent piece of art. I'm really thinking about doing a little limited t-shirt series and maybe like some refrigerator magnets. Y'all still like those? No? Fuck you then. I'm bringing back refrigerator magnets, motherfuckers. Y'all ain't got no magnets on y'all fridge? I got one. And now I want more. Because I remember how cool refrigerator magnets used to be. And then you get the set of letters, and then you can leave messages on the fridge for whoever's home, like, went to store, be back in 30. That's what shit like that. Y'all don't do that. Y'all don't, man, whatever. It's all good, man, whatever. Anyway, refrigerator magnets. Alright, well, I was going to do a t-shirt, refrigerator magnets, a calendar. Ooh, think about that. 12 months of the year, and each month you get to look at a different beautiful painting from me. Get your pre-orders in now, $20 a pop. I'll make one for 2021 if we survive that long. I meant to do one for this year, and I actually did call for pre-orders and got none. No pre-orders. I was looking for was 5 actually. If 5 people ask for them, and I get 5 pre-orders, I'm gonna print up 30 of them, and then obviously I'll get more orders just because the 5 people would be such good publicity, and they'll be like, look at this hot ass calendar I got, and then somebody else want one. Anyway, but like nobody wanted a calendar, so I was like, fuck that. But that's on the back burner. Still might do that. So what do we say? A limited run on t-shirts, refrigerator magnets, calendar, and then there was something else. There was one more thing. I forgot what it was. I might like I say, keep some stuff like that on hand just so that that people in different price ranges can still afford some of my stuff. I say everybody can't afford a giant ass self portrait of themselves with gold leaf all on it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody just can't kick out for that shit like, yo, I want it like this. I want it this big with gold. I'm like, damn. Alright. Baller. Shot caller. You know how much that's gonna cost you, right? Money is not an object. I love when people talk like that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love when they talk like that. Let's get it. Cause I need that. I ain't even lying. No type of way. I need that. Let me get that. I know she a baller because this her second painting. Yo, swear to God, this her second painting. No, she balling. Got a whole new house just full of big ass paintings of her pretty self. How you living? That's some Scarface type shit, bruh. In this room, I have this beautiful black and white painting of myself. It's like, yo, living lavish. This is a custom piece from the famous artist Travis Prince. Once again, I can't even afford art like that. I can't afford one of my paintings. She got two of them. God damn. Hold up. Wait a minute. What you doing, girl? Shit. Damn. Somebody baller. I ain't calling no names. I ain't calling no names. That's why I paint myself a lot, so I look important, like my clients. I can paint myself for free. I can't do it like other people. Just go buy that shit. Like shit, god damn. I wish I had it like that. You just went and bought that? Damn. How much that cost you? Shit. Yeah, it's pretty. I tell you, yeah. Oh, that's what you into. Art. Oh, okay. I see. Oh, okay. I see what you into now. You into the art. Into the art. I'll tell you what. If a pretty lady spend this much money on a gift like this for herself, there ain't nothing no man can do for her. I tell you right now. I tell you that right off the jump. You ain't gonna impress her too easily, bruh. She's not easily impressed. If she get what she want by her damn self. Not easily impressed at all. I love wig splitter. He said, I want you to paint me in my business suit. Looking like 50 Cent. Paint me in my business suit, man. Yo, wig splitter, you got the Call of Duty, bro? Got that Call of Duty? My nigga, I'm about to get on some video games, bro. It's lunchtime. I'm about to go grab something to eat. And play some video games. I ain't got no shame. Grown as hell, still play video games. Slide on my knob like corn on the cob. Check it with me and do your job. Lay on the bed and give me head. I don't have to ask and I don't have to beg. Alright guys, I've been counting so far. That was I just did 1,000 million brushstrokes. You know, I told myself I was gonna do it at least 1,000 strokes in here before I bounced out. It feels like I've done 1,000 million. Have no hope left, guys. I don't. I really don't. For a long time I did. Had hope. Had tons of hope. Very optimistic I was. Now it's just like, fuck me. Fuck my life. I hate everybody and everything, man. This world is a shit show. Fuck. Politics are fake. News is fake. Viral outbreaks may possibly be fake. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to fucking think. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to turn. Just like shit, man. Like shit is so uncertain right now. So many unknowns. Ooh, look at all that black paint stuck on my finger. And flash the newspaper, flash your picture in the newspaper. What? Hold on, I gotta go back to the comments. I was turned around. Alright, those highlights are coming along nicely. They're shocked that you're deaf. I'm shocked that you're deaf. How are you listening to me right now? What the fuck? Is there closed captioning for this shit? Wait a minute. I'm about to learn some shit. You're deaf? What the? I'm getting confused with these highlights here. I would have to come here and start swirly here and ziggy zaggy there and a swoosh here. I'll get that next time. Let me clean these brushes up. Go back to my swooshies and swirlies, my curlies and my ziggies. All right, shut the computer down. Kansas City, that's what's up. Yeah, that shit looks nice. All right. Much better, much better. Alright, that's off. Yo, appreciate it. So, I got the payment for the custom Nikes I did, so I'll try to ship those off tomorrow. So that's one project that's done and paid for, and as soon as this painting is complete, I can get this one shipped off. And I'm actually in talks with 2 other clients right now, trying to decide if we can come up with a size and a price for some more commission work. Like I say, some people think my prices are kind of expensive, so once I hit them with that price, they may just be like, oh, I'll give, or they may send me a deposit and we other commission. But that is yet to be seen. I'm not even sure what I'm doing next after I finish this painting. I have 3 other paintings I need to work on just for myself. I need to put an underpainting on one. So after I finish this project, I'll put an underpainting on a canvas, and then I'll come back and start another part to my reader series. So that should be fun if I don't pick up another commission between now and then. So commissions always come first. They're paid projects. Might as well, make the money while I can make the money. But appreciate everybody chilling in the studio with me today, checking out the progression on this portrait, talking some religious history and holiday history about Easter earlier. Had a couple political rants and just mostly nonsense and bullshit, but it was still a fun time. We got a good bit done on the hair. The highlights for this piece. So, you know, just a couple thousand little brush strokes to bring it all together. Yeah, Tyson. I was just about to get out of here too, bro. Shit. About to go downstairs and grab something to eat. Probably turn the other PlayStation on and play some video games for a minute. I said I keep contemplating buying that whole fucking Call of Duty not DLC, the Call of Duty game, just so I can play like Team Deathmatch and the that ground warfare on there. I think I may actually enjoy that. So I don't know. I might download that shit. We'll see. But like I said, if you guys want to chill in the living room with me while I play some video games, still talk some bullshit, you're more than welcome to come. If not, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.